Happy Saturday, written Undead world. Once again, I am Jack Childress. Got to change my name. Didn't do that. Been that kind of a morning so far. Over here is the one and only Richard Ryan Rose. One of my good buddies over here, Jennifer Amato. Filling in this week for the one and only Angel Ramon is the fantastically sexy in his lovely jacket there, the one and only Ricky Fleet. That's you.
Whew.
And the guest this week, oh my God. One of my favorite authors in the whole freaking wicked wide world right now. The one, the only, Merrill effing David. What is up, man?
How you doing, man? That's a good introduction. I don't know how I can top that, but hell, I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here. Sounds like you're doing better. I guess you were sick the last couple of days, so we were hoping that you'd make it for this thing.
When I got home last night and I discovered my mailbox was festering, that was the sign from on high that I was coming, whether I was in a sling, like a full body cast, it did not matter. I was here today for this show because, like I said, you are absolutely one of my favorites. And so I want to start right off the rip. Let's talk a little bit about Wicked Awake. And when did that hit you that you needed to write this story about Jake Hathaway, Mac, Man, Ant, and the whole rest of that crew?
Man, I started that thing a long time ago, probably 7-8 years ago. I was really into The Walking Dead. I think just about everybody was, and I was kind of, in its early phases, and that's kind of when it was. Some people aren't going to be happy that I said this, but that was when it was still good. They kind of lost over the last few years, and I don't even watch it anymore. But that was back when it was still getting, just getting going. It was really good, but even then, I'd watch with my family, and I would say, "Man, that's not real." Zombies aren't supposed to be fast like that. And I was always, making comments like that. And then so my wife said, why don't you write a book? Why don't you know so much about zombies? Why don't you write a book? And so that was kind of what started it all. And but I would work on it a little bit, put it away for a while, then pick it back up again. So it really took me about 5 years to finally get it all done and out there and published and all that stuff, just for the first one. The next ones came a lot quicker afterwards, but that first one took me quite a while.
How long did you say it took you?
Probably like 5 years.
Oh
Wow.
But that wasn't straight, that was me, there was probably a whole year where I didn't touch it, or I'd work on it for 2-3 months, put it away. And then of course, if you leave it too long, then you kind of got to, reread the whole thing to see where I left off and what was in there. And so it was not a good process. And that's why, to tell you the truth, if I ever get some spare time, I may go back and kind of edit and maybe even rewrite that whole first book. I think I've learned a lot since I've written that one. So there are some things in there that I would probably change up a little bit, but maybe someday, but we'll see.
Well, obviously, if I had only just finished book one and hadn't had a chance to text with you a little bit and kind of get a little more insight into the series itself, there is one major change I would have made with book one, and I think you know what that is. But now that I know what I know, I wouldn't change it at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, David, you carry on.
No, go ahead, Ricky.
No, I was just going to say it's always interesting to speak to other guys. The fact that you sort of took it over 5 years and did it bit by bit. What sort of made you make the decision to sort of fast track in terms of like book 2, 3, and then Fester? Has the bug kind of got you now in terms of the writing and that sort of thing? What changed in your personal situation that made you go from taking 5 years to then boom 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 smashing out the next ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. So at first, I knew nothing about writing books, and I think I was kind of doing it more just kind of for fun for myself. I don't think I ever really thought that I would put it out there. And then I had a lot of life changes happened with me in that 5-year period. My wife passed.
I'm so sorry, mate.
Oh, I appreciate it. And then I had a brain tumor removed, and so that 5 years was crazy. So, but now I'm remarried. I don't have, as far as I know, I don't have any more brain tumors going on, but so things are kind of squared away now, and I'm actually, I think I'm actually starting to figure out this whole writing thing. I've kind of had to learn it on my own and over time, and from a lot of you guys in this group, I can't tell you how much I've learned from my fellow authors in this Written Undead group. I mean, you guys have taught me so much, but that's the main difference between book one and then what I'm doing now. Is I think my life is kind of squared away now. Plus, I'm starting to figure it out, and I'm having a good time with it, and I'm just kind of rolling right now.
Yeah, that's half the battle, isn't it? If you're enjoying what you're doing, it comes a lot easier than if you're trying to force it.
Exactly.
Well, what made you decide to drift off into splatterpunk?
That was going to be my next question.
I tell you what, I don't get me wrong. I love the zombies, and that's still really where my heart is at. And so, you know, I'm still going to do another 3 books for the Wicked Awake series, but I love all horror, and so really it's kind of, I really kind of wanted to see if I could do something else, and so this is a little different. It's actually way different. I think Jack you could attest to that. I tried to write something that was going to be almost as far from Wicked Awake as possible. I've got in Fester, I've got a female character. She's a teenager. I mean, it's sci-fi. There's no cops in there. There's no military. There's hardly any guns. I mean, it's completely different from Wicked Awake. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. And I tell you what, it was a challenge. You know, I have a hard enough time writing about a white guy who's 50 years old, which I really am. Never mind trying to relate to my main character who's a female and a teenager. I have no idea. So I had to do a lot of research. That was the hardest part of Fester, was trying to figure out what a teenage girl does nowadays. Never mind the science fiction aspect of it. But yeah, just trying to make it sound like it was really a teenage girl living in today's society, and that was difficult. So I hope I got it right, but we'll see.
Well, as you can see, I am way deep into this thing, and I'm going to tell you, if I didn't know any better, I would know you were an expert on all things teenage girl, because you nailed this. I mean, absolutely. I've still got, like I said, about 100 so odd pages left, and if not for the show today, I would still be kicked back over here chilling with my hot chockey and be finishing a book. Never have done this in my life, read an entire book in one day, but that's happening today.
Wow.
This has been that good and that entertaining. And I was going to say, if it gives you an idea, he personalized it for me, which I love it when you guys do that, because it just adds that little extra something. He says, Jack, as always, thanks for the support. You might want to wear gloves for this one. Filth. That's all you need to know. It is so deliciously abhorrent at parts. And I reached chapter 10, stopped, had lunch, because I had a feeling that, based on what you'd said, if I continued on, there wouldn't be lunch to follow. And
yeah,
thanks for the heads up, by the way.
Yeah, you don't want to eat lunch. You don't want to eat lunch right before chapter 10, because
no, because I had lunch, and then the characters had lunch.
And then Jack almost didn't have lunch anymore.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm deranged. Oh, go ahead.
I got a question for you, Merrill. Okay, so I pretty much know what cyberpunk is. I'm fairly familiar with what steampunk is, but please explain to me, what is splatterpunk exactly?
You know, I don't think there's a whole lot of a difference. I think maybe splatterpunk may be just maybe the more modern term for it, but basically it's still horror, but it also kind of is it's kind of over the top extreme as far as when it comes to, you know, gore and filth, and it's nasty, and it's just it's sometimes is more borderline on just disgusting than actual horror. But it's kind of a combination of both of those things combined. So that would be my closest guess. But I don't think there's much difference between splatterpunk and cyberpunk and all that. I think it's just kind of what the kids are calling it nowadays.
And
Do
he's
you-
he's exactly right about that. It is definitely, it pushes the gross factor a lot harder than your typical horror. You can describe an arm being broken or someone's throat being slit, but when you start getting off into bodily functions and things of that sort, you're going to a whole other place with that.
Do you read much in that sort of genre, Merrill? I mean, I'm thinking I've tried some recent, just go a bit wider in my own reading, and I've read some Aaron Beauregard. I'm friends with Matt Shaw. He lives, like half hour down the road from me. And obviously they're, both names that are well known in extreme. Is that kind of what it's more towards, just absolute vileness? I mean, you've got Aaron Beauregard's The Slob, which, I was kind of reading it, just dry heaving the entire way through the book, which in itself is a good thing for somebody that loves horror anyway. But do you read any, are there any other authors that kind of inspire you within that splatterpunk genre that you could share with us?
I mean, to tell you the truth, I'm not a big reader. I really hardly read anything at all. I really kind of write for the therapeutic aspect of it. I really don't read. But I'm in a splatterpunk horror readers club, and you're right. Aaron Beauregard is one of the names that comes up a lot, and The Slob comes up a lot. And then the interesting thing is Aaron is actually from Rhode Island, where I didn't know that until recently. I did a little research on him. I found out that he's from there, and I am too. It's just you might not be familiar. It's just a small. It's like the smallest state in the United States, so it's not a big area, but it's kind of interesting. But yeah, you're right. The Slob is one of the books that I hear about a lot. People gross out over. There's another one called Womb.
Duncan Ralston. Yep.
Stolen Tongues.
You read that recently.
Yeah.
That was good.
Okay, so those are the ones that I see people talking about all the time, and I've never read them myself, but I was like, boy, they sound pretty good, and I wanted to give it my own shot. So, but another reason I don't like to read other people's books is I don't want to. I'm always afraid I'm going to sound like something like I copied or stole somebody's stuff. I want to be. I try to keep my stuff to where it sounds like it's really different and really unique, and it's just something of its own. So that's why I really don't like to read other people's stuff, because I'm afraid I might start adapting, and not that I would steal it or plagiarize it, but I don't want to start sounding like somebody else, and they're like, I wonder where they got that from,
Kind of like
Yeah.
osmosis, like you would
Completely.
soak it in and not realize you had.
Yeah.
Well, I got news for you, buddy. I tell you all the time, and I finally get to say it right to your face. You, sir, have a weird, wild, wicked way with words. I could literally be handed a stack of paper, no cover, no author, and start reading it. And if you wrote it within 5-10 pages, I'd say, this is Merrill David. I would know, because your books stand alone just because of the way you write them, the way you word things, your descriptions. Membrane munchers is like one of my favorites. Just the things you come up with are laugh out loud at times.
Yeah.
It's just great.
I kind of like Pancreas Pirates a little bit better than that one, but
That one's a good one too.
Can I ask where the idea for Festa came from?
Oh boy. I'm not even real sure where it did. Like I said, I knew I wanted to do something completely different from Wicked Awake, and I wanted to do a female character and a younger female. So I knew I wanted to do that. And then as far as I really don't remember where I came up with the idea of doing kind of like a science fiction type thing. I really don't even remember. It must have just hit me someday. I don't know. I don't remember where I got that from.
Yeah, it's good when you get those epiphanies sometimes. It's just something comes out of the blue and just hits you.
Yeah. So
But
what I'll
back-
do, I'll go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, back to your point about worrying about taking on other people's languages, the way they write. I've been doing it a little while now, and you unless you purposely set out to do it, I don't think you have to worry about that. Like Jack said, your unique voice will only get better and remain your unique voice. No matter how much you try and copy, you naturally would even give that idea your own spin and your own voice. So I don't think that's anything you've got to worry about. And if, as Jack says, you've already got your own little unique thing going on, you can only get stronger from there.
Mhm.
Well, now, like Richard, for example, when you write your books, I can tell on some level, even though granted, yes, it's set in Tennessee, but even if you had said it some fictional location, the Tennessee in you comes out. You know, I pick up on that. So, I mean, do you ever notice that as you're writing?
Well, yeah, I mean, to an extent, of course, like so far, the only things I've written are, 2 books in the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys universe. I am going to branch out into some sci-fi here later on, but Tennessee is a big part of Wild-Eyed Southern Boys because, well, of course, it takes place in Tennessee. It's setting in the Smoky Mountains, and right near where I grew up, and so I wanted it to. Yeah, I've never read a zombie book where the Smoky Mountains are really involved, or that part of the country, and it's a place I love and a place I'm very passionate about, and God knows I'd die to protect it. So that's kind of where you see some of the passion about how Beaufort is about the mountains, and same with Rue, and it's a very Tennessee story, I guess. And all in all, I'm a redneck boy from East Tennessee, and so it's probably always going to come out in any book I write, no matter where the setting is. But hope that answers your question.
Well, now, do you have a question for the lovely Mr. Merrill?
I do. Okay, so maybe a little bit off the subject. So, you're from Rhode Island, so you're one of 3 people I know that's actually from that state. Actually, I know a few more, but what brought you from Rhode Island down to Dallas? I know you had a career in law enforcement there, but is that what led you to Dallas? Or?
Yeah, exactly. So, the departments up in the Northeast are small, and a lot of times, if you didn't know somebody on one of those departments, you might make a waiting list, but you didn't actually get hired. So I did that with a few different towns, made waiting lists, and died on the lists. And so I knew I had to go to a larger municipality. At that time, Dallas was recruiting all over the country, and they had a recruiter up in Providence, and I met with them, and sounded like a good opportunity, and I ended up applying with them, and I got the job with Dallas PD. So that's what brought me down here.
It's the same way in Tennessee. It took me several years. I was a reserve officer for like 3.5 years before I finally got my foot in the door on full time.
Yeah.
That's how it was in Ohio too.
Yeah.
We're just covered up in popo today.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by heroes. I love it. Absolutely love it. Brilliant.
I was more on the correction side, but
Cool.
we're pretty much the little police inside the little city of the
Sure.
jail.
Yeah.
Those 2 go get them, and you deal with them.
Yes.
I don't know who's
Your
got the
job,
easiest
yeah.
job.
I was gonna
We
say
had
that
the-
job
yeah.
is more difficult.
Sometimes. I don't know. You guys got to run. We don't have to. Just got to work that people's elbow. That's it. But I guess
So-
my question for you, sorry, Jack.
No, go
My
ahead. Go ahead.
question is, when you're coming up with a story, when you get an idea, do you do an outline? Is your writing process like an outline, or do you just start writing?
Oh boy. So I'm already taking notes from books that are 4 books that I'm probably going to write years down the road. And that's probably what happened with Fester. And that's probably why I don't remember where that idea came from, because I probably came up with it 2 or 3 years ago. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then I'll just put it in my notes on my phone there. And so after eventually I'll get to it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember I put that in here, and then I'll start working on it. So I kind of wait and until I'm about to work on that book, and then I'll do an outline from just but up until then, I'm just putting a bunch of notes in there.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll put voice notes and then transfer them over to a Google Doc eventually.
Mhm.
And then so when I'm ready to do that book, so I've already figured out after Wicked Wake 4, I'm going to do doing like a paranormal type thing I'm going to do next.
Oh,
And
cool.
so I've already got a bunch of notes on that. And so when I'm ready to do that, I'll get in there and then I'll start working on the outline.
You need any help with that, hit me up. I was on paranormal teams and do a lot of witchcraft stuff, so let me know.
Very cool.
Brilliant.
Why does that not surprise me?
Am I the
All
only
right.
one that ever storyboards their books? Like I usually I'll write my first draft, and then I get on this program called Lucid Art, and I'll make usually little different shapes, and I'll storyboard each chapter and make
cool.
notes out to the side.
That
Anybody do-
sounds far too organized for me, Richard. I
Don't
just make
have to
stuff
show me
up as
how
I
to
go along and hope for the best.
It does
Sometimes
help.
it
It is
works
more
out.
organized than what I'm used to, but yeah, it does help.
It'd probably make my life a lot easier, but yeah, I'm a natural pantster. I just make it up, and yeah.
Well, if I may, but one of my favorite things that we do in the Written Undead each week is One Line Wednesday. So, Richard, I'm going to need you to get ready to channel your innermost Buford. And if I may, I have one little section here I would like to read from Fester that has no spoilers in it. It's just a background on the town in Rhode Island, by the way.
Okay.
Perhaps the best known, or actually, this is West Virginia where we're at here. Perhaps the best known of these cryptids was Bigfoot, also known around the world as Sasquatch or Yeti, locally known as wood booger or boojum. This is an ape-like creature that conceals itself in the dark, deep forest, leaving behind footprints so large they cannot belong to any man. Many supposed wood booger sightings in these hills have been reported over the years. Thoughts, Buford?
Well, it's the first time I've heard the term wood booger used in a book since
Right?
Southern Boys. So they don't like being called wood boogers, by the way, just letting you know that.
It's racist.
Richard would be appalled.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
But now, boojum, did I say that right? Is that how that's pronounced? Boojum?
Boy, I don't know. Rich.
I've never heard boojum. I've heard skookum.
Okay, well, here, let me flippy back. Ah,
I wrote it, but I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, Boojum.
I'm gonna Google.
Here we go. Get our tech guy on it right now. Well, like I said, the very beginning of this book, it grabs you by the testes right away and pulls you right in. I mean, just off the rip with the way you started this thing, you made it clear that Fester is sci-fi. You made no question about that right off just the very beginning. And then where you took it from there, it's like, I don't want to say it's fast paced, and yet in its own subtle way, it really is. It's like you develop your characters fairly quickly and you keep the show rolling. There's no long-winded explanations for anything. It's pretty much, let's just go. We got a story to tell. Let's just tell this story. And that's I think the reason I haven't been able to put this thing down today. I keep picking it up, for Pete's sake. I swear at some point during the show, I'm just going to start reading and just tell y'all, talk amongst yourselves, because you've got something right here, mister. Now, going back to Wicked Awake, it's a 6-book series, and we already know this because, well, it's in the front part of the book. What made you decide on 6? How early on did you know I'm going from here to here and I'm stopping?
Yeah, originally, like I said, when I was still in that 5-year period when I was still working on book 1, I was thinking I was really thinking it's going to be probably just 3. I was thinking it might be a 3-book series, and then as I did 2, then I was like, there's no way I can with all that I want to put in here, with all the notes that I have, there's no way I can wrap this up in 3. So that's when I figured 6 is a good number. I don't want to go too far on with it because I don't know. I don't know if readers would get bored with it, but I kind of feel like I might. And like I was saying earlier, the whole reason I do this is to have fun. It's therapeutic, and I'm doing it for fun. And if I'm not having fun with it, the product's probably going to suck, and I don't want that to happen. So I think 6 books is probably about right. And I've already got an idea for a series after Wicked Awake, and there may be 1 or 2 characters that transfer over into that series.
Ooh.
Possibly. But I think 6 will be enough for Wicked Awake, and then I'll put that one to bed.
Now, are any of the characters in there inspired by anyone?
There's a couple of characters that are kind of resemble real people. There's a police chief in the book. His name is Chief Snippet, and I hope none of the people that I know are watching this, but he slightly resembles the police chief that we had that retired just about 5 or 6 months ago at a department that I used to work at. So he sort of resembles him a little bit. And if you have read the Wicked Awake books, you might know how his story ends. And so I got some nice pleasure out of that. And then, of course, there's the lady who gave me that 1-star review on Amazon. And
Oh my God, I love that.
I had the character in book 3 that resembled her slightly. So I had fun with that character too. So there are some characters that have some attributes that are similar to real life people.
Can I just jump in? 2 things I found: The Legend of the Boojum, and it reads, one might say the Boojum is similar to the abominable snowman of the Himalayas or the Wampus cat in the swamps of East North Carolina. However, he is indeed a unique creature of his own, and Haywood County is his home. Though no one has gotten close enough to clearly describe him, it is said he stands at about 8 feet tall and is a mixture of both man and beast. Thick, shaggy grey hair covers his body with a human-like face, never described as handsome. He's mostly seen from afar on rocky mountain cliffs or outcroppings when twilight falls. There you go. So it is, yeah. The second part just is, obviously, without having any experience of law enforcement in any way, shape or form, do you find obviously you need to be able to read people, and obviously you make judgment calls very rapidly based on certain identifiers that I couldn't even imagine. Do you kind of think that plays into your writing at all in how you understand people on a far deeper level than somebody that has never done that job would?
That's an excellent
Does that
question.
make sense?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
does.
Yeah, makes a
Sounded like
lot
a
of
lot of
sense.
waffle now I said it.
Yeah. But I forget, was it last week when you guys were all talking about police and military and how, I think Rich, you were talking about how you've seen the worst in people, and you had the writer on who was she kind of went around and she was kind of like doing the Good Samaritan work and after the tornadoes and all that. And then Rich, you were talking about how in police line of work, we see the worst of people, and so I when you were saying that, I could relate to that. I mean, that's pretty much what we do is occasionally police, we deal with the good people who are usually the victims. But yeah, we deal with a lot of people who are not so good and not so nice. And I think maybe that does affect kind of the way we write and then the way we kind of view a lot of people overall. And maybe that's not fair because there are a lot of nice and good people out there, but we see so many bad ones that I think it does affect the way I write.
Yeah.
Always suspicious. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I hate people in general. I hate them. I'm sorry.
Especially other authors.
Yeah.
Yet we fans, we love you right back.
Yeah. I mean, I love my fans. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate everybody. I just hate people in general. Let me just clarify it.
Yeah, I couldn't do what you do. You hat off to you. Absolutely, thin blue line is, it's never been thinner. And yeah, like I say, I've always watched the old cop shows and stuff like that on TV. The UK ones to some degree are okay. It's a lot of chases and a lot of dealing with hooligans, but you guys over there, I don't know whether it is the case or whether it's just Hollywoodized, but it's like a war zone, some of the stuff you guys go against. So yeah, fair play.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I feel,
No.
I definitely, our military, our cops, our first responders, I am 100% behind everyone. all of them, because they do something that a lot of people can criticize but could never pick up and do themselves.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, that's why when Javin first approached me about starting this show, and I asked him, I said, "Can I have co-hosts? Can I pick who I want, or do you already have, who you want to, you're chosen already in line?" He said, "Oh man, go find whoever you want." Richard was right at the top of the list, and it's because of his background. I mean, hell, I get an all-in-one with this guy. I've got military background, I've got police background, I've got author. I mean, I get everything in one package, and he's sexy. So
Good
it's a
looking Tennessee
win-win.
Nobody's
boy.
gonna argue against that,
And he's Tennessee. So I mean, you can't go wrong like that. You just can't.
No.
I appreciate you bringing me on here, Jack. I really do. I'm enjoying it.
Man, it's a blast. It's an absolute blast. Angel's missing out today, but he's off doing Good Samaritan work today.
He
So-
is. He's being a hero
Yeah,
all
he
on his
is.
own in his neighborhood.
He's a good lad.
He is.
So
Can
now,
I-
Merrill. Oh, go
Carry on,
ahead.
Jackson. No,
Oh.
you carry on, bud. I'll circle back to this in a minute.
Now, what have you thought of trying to do anything since we've been talking about the cryptids and you actually had mention of them in Fester? Have you thought about taking a swing at the Sasquatch, the Yeti, anything along those lines?
I tell you what, I really like some of those, like the most small town, stories about the cryptoids and stuff like that. Maybe someday I might have done Bigfoot, but Rich beat me to it, so I don't want to.
There's room for that. There's room for more.
I don't know. You nailed it, man. I don't know if I could close it. But maybe but stories like that kind of fascinate me, and that's kind of why that little snippet that you read, I told about a few of them that I read about. But maybe someday I do a book, an entire book on one of them. But like I love stories like that, like about like the Mothman.
Yeah, you
And,
mentioned him too.
Yes.
And some of those creatures like that. There's another guy. What's that guy's name? Is it the Slim Man?
Slender,
Oh,
Slender
Man.
Slender Man.
Slender Man.
Slender Man. I mean, just stories like that. I mean, they fascinate the heck out of me. So I could see where someday I might do a book on some character like that. Maybe I make up a character, but some kind of small town story type creatures. I could see where I might do something like that. Maybe that'll be the one that I do next. Like I said, I'm doing a paranormal one after Wicked Awake 4, and I'm going to go back and do Wicked Awake 5. But maybe I do something like that after that. So
Ooh, Slender Squatch.
Mhm. I think we might have to work on the title there a bit, Jack.
Yeah.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Hey, there's gators in the universe, so I'm just saying.
That's true. Sharknado.
Shocking.
Yeah, who am I to criticise? No, all I was gonna ask, I was gonna bring it back to Wicked Awake, Merrill. Obviously, being a sort of young guy, like I am, you mentioned The Walking Dead. Was there anything prior to that? I mean, my adoration for all things rotting came from Lucio Fulci and George Romero's originals back in the day. Were you a fan of those, sort of zombie flesh eaters, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, all the originals?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still think Night of the Living Dead is one of the creepiest and best zombie movies out there. I know. I mean, that was, that's really the one that started it all for me. And I still love to watch. I've probably seen that thing 7-8 times. I love that movie. Those zombies are so slow, but they're creepy as fuck. I mean, they're slow, and in that whole black and white. I just love that movie. But yeah, and I also what was the one where they're in the mall, and then the guys and then they end up going up on the roof of the sporting goods store.
Oh, the remake of Dawn of the Dead?
It might have been with
Dawn of the Dead.
It had
I think-
Ving Rhames in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's the cop in it. I love that movie
Yes.
too.
Yeah, that was one
Yeah,
of the
I
only
love that one.
remakes that I will actually say I thoroughly enjoyed, because most of them are absolute garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
But-
one was. And I loved. I tell you what, if World War Z, if those zombies had been about a tenth of the speed that they had in that thing, that movie would have been awesome. But I still enjoyed it. That was entertaining.
Have you read the book World War Z?
No.
Oh, it's
That's a good.
It's
I'm
actually pretty good.
absolutely disgusted at what they did with the book. They had so much material that they could have made a phenomenal film,
Yep.
and they literally just pooed all over the
Bombed.
book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they bombed.
They can make a full series out of World War Z
I pray
yeah.
they will.
Wow.
easily. Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
the individual stories in there are just phenomenal. But obviously, it's a pleasure to meet another zombie lover that actually appreciates the slow zombies, as opposed to the people that think they should all run, because they are not zombies. And it's great to hear somebody else articulate exactly the whole thing about the slow zombies is just the fact they are as creepy as hell. They're slow, they never sleep, they never give up, they are always hungry. And it's that, rather than, you know, being chased by someone that would catch me in about 15 seconds and eat me anyway, it's that remorselessness, you know, the complete lack of any morals or emotion. That to me is more scary than somebody just screaming at me like 28 days later and beating me while they eat me. So it's really good to hear somebody else articulate my exact feelings on the matter.
And you just answered my question. That's what I was going to ask, was what everybody preferred. Do you prefer the World War Z zombies that run, or do you prefer the slow ones, and why? You know, I mean, I agree with you as far as I like World War Z. I think the zombies, I like, they move too fast for being dead. That's where I didn't see the continuity wasn't there with that. But as far as the slow zombies, I also agree that they should be slow. They're dead. They're not moving like regular human beings. You know, we're very fluid. I guess I never understood the fast zombies, but I definitely appreciated you going into that without me even having it. You're a mind reader.
As irony would have it.
No, carry on, Rich.
I was gonna say, as irony would have it, I prefer the slow zombies myself, but of course, if you read my book, they're fast zombies.
Yeah.
They're Wendigo zombies, so they're a little
I was going to say, it makes sense with yours, though. There's a reason for that, which actually brings.
You gotta have something to give the Sasquatches a run for their money. Slow zombies would just be like fish in a barrel to a big ass Bigfoot. So I had to give something, like give them a challenge.
That's the thing in the writing, isn't it? It's in terms of films, you can kind of build the suspense with the slow zombies in a way that you probably can't in a novel format. But the threat of the fast zombies in terms of written format, I think, works better. I've written both in terms of sort of like slow rotters and like mutant sort of infected style, and it's a completely different canvas that you can paint with, if that makes sense. So I think you made the right choice in terms of what you went for, because it leads to especially with the Sasquatches and all the other bits and pieces, it leads to a more interesting, fun read.
So Merrill, I got a question for you on that. So yeah, I've listened to your first Wicked Awake book. I can't wait to get deeper into the series there. But so you've got your zombies are a little bit different, also kind of a different spin on it. So
Zeus juice
haven't quite, some of them are like super soldiers until they go straight up Shambler or whatever. I mean, how does that work in your book exactly?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I do have some zombies that are faster too, but they're, like you said, they're not. And that was the other thing too, is I don't understand people, authors, who write these books, and they have these zombies coming up out of the graveyards, but they don't offer any explanation as to how that happened, or some give a really vague, but I wanted to make it sound like there was actually science behind it, where it could actually happen. So I was reading about, all the different diseases that are out there. The what's the one that affects the cows?
Mad cow.
Mad cow disease. I mean, it's like a neurological brain disease, and then there's another one that affects sheep. But I was also reading where people have gotten these things too, and basically it just craters your brain, and it just all. So I was thinking, that actually sounds like it could really happen. So I was like, well, and so then I came up with the military's designing the Zeus juice, and it really it's starting out. And I don't want to spoil the end of the series, but it starts out where they're making it look like this is to basically create the super soldiers, and to make the Marines, they could fight harder. They fight off disease and injuries, and they don't grow tired, and they can just fight and become stronger. And so that was kind of the whole idea that they were putting out at the beginning. And then as the series goes along, we're finding out that that's not exactly what the Zeus juice was designed for. That was just kind of what they were putting out. The military and the government were putting out there. So you'll have to tune in later to see what they were really up to. But yeah, so I do have the zombies that are the super zombies that are they've had the Zeus juice, and they're super strong, super big, and they're faster, but they're not the other ones. Other people are getting infected as well from the water, and from they're the ones that are getting bitten by the other zombies. They're not having those super abilities. So I do have some that are quicker and more powerful, but not all of them are that way.
I like the levels. I like that. I think it really brings another spin to the story. I think that's amazing.
I think the
I think it's
scary
scary
thing
that
is
it
that,
takes-
like, you carry on, Rich.
Yeah, I cut you off once before. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that stories like that, they're even more, they get to you on an even deeper level, because somewhere on our world, somebody is doing something exactly like that.
And
And we do not know about it. And all it would take, much like COVID and the release of that, wherever that came from, all it would take is one accident. And these things that they are designing, and we know they're designing them because humanity, is dark. It's the fact that, the living dead, no, but genetically altered human bodies in that sort of vein, I think that is plausible, scarily plausible. And as I say, that, that's my own opinion. But
well, to point out just one of your as it turns out to be villain characters, Black Hoof, the way you took him from the military days to coming stateside and basically becoming a badass supervillain with the big black headdress and all that, where did that damn character come from? Because that just, there's no way that just pops in your head. You're like, hey, yeah, big Indian dude, headdress, kills people, yeehaw. Where did he was bad. He was free. He got hit by a damn tank, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. Just when I was coming up with the characters at the beginning of Wicked Awake 1, I had Jake, and then I was coming up with some of the guys that were in his squad. And then so I wanted to kind of have a variety. So I figured, Oklahoma, there's a lot of Native Americans up in Oklahoma. That's not too far from, because a lot of the story is based in a lot of it's up in New England, but a lot of it's in Dallas as well. So, and I have a scene up in the casino up in Oklahoma that's owned by the Native Americans. So I figured I could tie it all in together later on. So I just tried to have some diversity with some of my characters and mix it up a little bit.
Well, even you're set up in Mississippi, which is pretty cool, because the family, Mac's family, they had a hell of a setup going on out there. Did you do any research into like putting that little spot together?
Yeah, I had to do a lot of research on that, and basically the people living off the grid, and then so they've got underground. They're living underground in the school buses. So I did a lot of research on that, where people use school buses, or they'll use the truck, the truck boxes, and they'll put them. They actually bury them underground, and then they'll run air in there, and so it's. So I did a lot of research on that. It was fun and interesting, but there are people actually living like that.
Yes.
I think that scene was kind of cool, and I had fun doing the research on it.
See, and this is the hardest part about doing this interview, and I already knew it all week, because I kept having to tell myself, okay, I want to say something about this. No. Okay, well, I'm going to say something about this. No, because there's so much that just develops as the story continues. Because just like with your super soldiers, they're not all, like you said, they're not necessarily zombies. And one of these particular characters even brings another special trait into the whole thing, and was that something that just organically came up as you were going through the writing process, or did you already know one of these guys is going to have a special gift?
No, no. At the beginning, I had no idea it was going to kind of develop into that. I knew I wanted the zombies to develop some new abilities and to adapt, and because as they're going along, they are adapting and changing, but I know I've seen I think Walking Dead did it, and I think some other books have done it where as the zombies progress, they start to communicate with each other. And I didn't want my zombies to be talking, but I did want to find a way where they do change with their environment, and I did a little research on that too, and I found where some people can actually do telekinesis, and they can communicate with their mind and all different kinds of stuff, and then also where animals can communicate with people, and some people can communicate with animals. I'm like, what if I kind of have the zombies doing some of these things too, rather than have the zombies, start to actually talk or communicate or whatever. But I wanted to make them get some different kind of abilities and change them up a little bit. And that's kind of where I started to do some research on what can humans really do in real life, and if I add that to the zombie characters, it might blow some people's minds. So that's kind of what I was trying to do.
Blew mine.
Brilliant.
Well, it fits right
Absolutely
in
blew
there.
mine.
It fits right in there with that whole government, testing thing, because a long time ago they even tested for telekinesis. Nazis did it. They, Hitler was real big on testing for occult, practices and stuff like that, testing for special abilities. And
Right.
but so I think it goes along real well with where the government's using these tests. Of course they're going to have some superhuman abilities for telekinesis or psychicism or whatever. So
Right.
I like that, and I cannot wait to get this read. I can't.
What's the film where they explore that? Is it Lucy? Where she gets poisoned with drugs, and what is it? We only use 10% of our brain, but it
Yes.
basically follows the story of 20%, 30%, 40%, and then eventually she
Yes.
becomes godlike. That's
Yes,
brilliant.
that was Lucy. That was
Merrill, that's
Lucy.
brilliant. Yeah, I've got your book on my Kindle, but my TBR pile is just astronomical. But I'm gonna push you a little bit further towards the front.
You
mate.
need to put it right to the front. I'm talking, and
Yeah,
once you get caught up like I am, because I'm finished with book 3. I'm eagerly awaiting book 4. Thank you for putting this out, so I could have at least a little something to
I'm reading
hang on to.
Jeff's at the moment, but I'm definitely going to push yours towards the front of the pile. That's brilliant. I really like the sound of that.
And now you're striking my curiosity right now, because I finished book 1, and what I'm currently doing, I'm trying to go to one written undead author to the next, just to read at least one book from everybody.
That's exactly what I do.
Yeah, and so I've gone through Wicked Awake, which is a great book, and I just keep hearing that they get progressively even better as you go
They
along.
do.
And then I've gone to I've finished After Z with J.S. Patrick, and now I'm gonna probably, like I mentioned to you earlier, I know you say none of them are really good, but I'm sure people will
Just being honest, Rich. I'm just
disagree
trying to
with
save you time, mate.
I'll find out for myself.
I
We'll talk
got
offline.
I got to do the same. I got to check out Ricky, and I still got to check out After Z. And I've seen some Angel stuff. Rich, I loved your book, and so I need to do the same thing. But yeah, great plan.
On that note, and it's a question that I always ask, give us your writing process. Is it, is there a drink that you need to have? Is there music that you have on? Is it silent? Do you have a word count goal when you sit down? Is there a certain period of time? What's Merrill's writing process?
I just got to be having fun. I mean, sometimes I don't have any word count. I definitely will not sit down and say I need to write this many words, because like I said, once again, if it starts to feel like work to me, it's not as much fun. and I think it's going to suck, and I don't want it to suck. I'm not, and not to say that people who do that put out a bad product. I do think there are some authors that put out a lot of stuff and they're more about quality than quantity. I know that's not anybody in our group, but there are authors like that. I'll never be that guy. I'm writing for fun. And if I'm not having fun doing it, I think it's going to suck. And I'm not going to put anything out there that's going to suck just to make a buck. That rhymed. I think that rhymed.
It does. That did rhyme.
You're
I
a
told you he
poet,
has a
you
way
did.
with
Oh,
words.
you didn't know it.
That's next on your agenda, poetry book.
And I'm never going to write any Dr. Seuss books because that even though I rhymed back there, but actually, if I wrote Dr. Seuss, they'd probably ban it anyways. Aren't they banning all his
No
stuff?
doubt.
Yeah, you would be canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
all too
now,
offensive these days.
I don't
isn't
know
it?
how I haven't hit on this yet. Tell us a little bit about your narrator for Wicked Awake. And then once you do that, give us a little insight in what we get to look forward to with Fester's narrator.
I tell you what, Rich has got a real good narrator. But when I put my audition out there for Wicked Awake, I had 4 people respond, and the first 2 absolutely sucked. The guy, he does Patrick's books. He was the 3rd guy. I forget his name. He's in our Written Undead group.
Mhm.
I forget his name. Sorry about that.
J.S. Patrick.
Yeah, his narrator. I can't remember his name. He's really,
Yeah, I
he's
can't
really
remember the
good.
I'm Googling it.
There we
Okay.
go.
He's really good. He was the 3rd guy, but he just didn't sound. I wanted my character to sound Boston, kind of have that northeast accent, but also sound kind of tough. And so, like I said, I really liked that narrator, but he wasn't quite what I was looking for. And then the 4th guy was my current narrator, CJ Gray. And when I heard that dude's voice, he blew me away. I'm like, that's fucking Jake Hathaway right there. I mean, he blew me away, and which I'm glad, because, and that's another thing that I've learned in this process. I've learned, instead of, I think a lot of people have better luck actually going out there, going into ADX or wherever you get your narrators and doing the search yourself rather than just throwing it out there and accepting auditions. And so that's what I did when I did. I mean, I got lucky with CJ Gray. I love him and I would never change him up. But with Fester, I was afraid that was going to happen, where I would put that out there for that audiobook and I wouldn't get any narrators that I liked. And sure enough, I put that out there, and I think I had 7 or 8 people audition for that one. And I had one, no, out of those people that auditioned, I didn't like any of them. So then I went out there and I started searching myself. I did the search based on, I wanted a young female, but I wanted her to, this and that. And you put in a criteria of all the different characteristics you want. And I found this one girl and I was like, wow, that's her. And then so I contacted her and I said, hey, I got this book and I'm looking to have it narrated real soon. And I think you would be perfect for it. And it took her a while to respond. I'm like, she's not gonna answer me. And so finally she did. And but she said, I need to use an alias name because that book is so fucked up. I don't so, well, not only that, because she's good. So she does children's books too. She does kids' books on the side. So I'm like, yeah, don't blame it. You don't want your name. Yeah. Don't put your name on.
Scrolling through her backlist.
Yeah.
Oh, let's listen to this. Oh my God.
Yeah. So she came up with a completely new alias name. And so so my book is the only one she's done under this new name. And I will never, she made me swear that I'll never tell people who she really is, but she's going to be awesome. I think that one will probably be ready in a couple months, but wait till you hear this girl. She is incredible.
Brilliant.
That's
And
something I've been
J.S.
doing.
Patrick's was Matthew Crow.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on my radar for Devoured World, I must admit.
He's in our, oh, really?
Yeah, I've spoken to him a couple of times. I mean, back to the audio books, I had the same issue. I ballsed up massively in terms of putting out, Hellspawn, and I've had to change a narrator because they dropped out and they've let me down, and it's kind of poisoned me to the entire thing now. So given my time again, I would have done, what you suggested and actually look into it properly. I just jumped in both feet first, and it's bitten me in the bum. It really has. But yeah,
Yeah.
Matthew Crowe, like I said, I've listened to some of his stuff. He's very good.
He is, and he's in our group too. I see him comment and post quite a bit, so he's in our group. But yeah, he is. He's really good. He just didn't have that. I was looking for more of a Northeast accent. If it wasn't for that, I would have taken him in a heartbeat. The guy's really good.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's the. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
I was gonna say, yeah, I went through like 14 or 15 different auditions before I finally found somebody who could do an actual. I had maybe 2 or 3 of them that actually had an authentic Southern accent.
Yeah.
I've told that story before, but
And for everybody in attendance, now granted, Richard will be there, Jen will be there, Angel's supposed to be there. April the 9th, Richard's narrator will
Steve Burnham.
be here
Cool.
with us, our first narrator. So if anybody has a narrator that they would like to get a chance to be on the show, just know up front, you will be asked to do a character for us. I'm just saying. It's part of it. It's how you got the
get
gig.
your guy. We get your guy on here, Merrill.
Oh, he's got to sing if we do.
My guy, I know I can't get my guy to do it. He does not do social media. I know he won't do this thing at all.
Okay.
And of course, my narrator for Fester won't, because people will
She don't
instantly
know who she is.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no, we could do like the
Masked
have her like
singer.
blacked out and the voice
Masked
thing,
singer.
you know, where she's out
She can borrow your Deadpool mask.
We'll
Oh,
try.
speaking of which, up on top.
Oh, there it
There
is.
it is.
I think me and Merrill are going to have to get together someday and scrap for that title, by the way. Although I keep looking at his guns over there and I'm like, I don't know.
You don't want none.
I don't think I want no part of that.
I think you're gonna have to
You don't
come up
want that.
behind him with a length of wood, Jack. I'm
Yeah,
not,
yep.
Hacksaw
try,
Jim
yeah.
Duggan style.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just try and
And-
take him unawares.
Chances are it shatters. He turns around, looks at me like, ooh, lunch.
In all honesty, he's probably got eyes in the back of his head because of his job anyway. He'll sense you as you're coming. You won't even get close. I've
Hell,
got
my
to be
only
honest.
shot is the fact that I only weigh like 120 pounds. He might be able to hear me coming. Well,
Getting off
guys,
topic. No, carry on. No. Sorry, buddy. You
Oh.
carry on.
I was going to say we're getting near the end of the show, but hey, if you guys want to keep going,
No, I
I've
was
got-
just going to ask one final question. It's something that always fascinates me. Is there anything? Do you watch much sort of TV in terms of shows, films, and stuff, Merrill?
Not a whole lot. I watched a couple series on Netflix. Like I had to watch the Squid Games when everybody was talking about squid, and I was like,
Yeah.
just
Good.
from the name, I was like, what the fuck is Squid Games? But- and I was addicted right from the start. I think everybody was, but so I watched that, and then this last zombie series on Netflix was called All of Us Are Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've been
watched
wanting to see that.
You know, that was all right. I kind of lost
Mm-hmm.
interest about halfway through. But yeah, I don't watch a whole ton of TV.
Yeah, no, you picked 2 good shows. I was the same with All of Us Are Dead. It probably could have been condensed down by 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah.
There's only so much running from classroom to classroom and barricading the classroom and then going to the next
Right.
classroom and running down a hallway. It's like, dude, I've seen this 73 times already. Can we,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
that's why-
you know,
why I
short
won't
and
watch
sweet,
it.
like Train to Busan. You know, Train to Busan was just
Oh yeah,
extraordinary.
Yeah.
I like
But it
that.
was
I like
90
that.
minutes.
Classic.
And I was crying at the end of it. You know, I think, you know, it's just dragged out a little bit, but I don't regret my time. But Squid Game, yeah, you know, from the first gunshots, and you're like, what? Oh my god!
Yeah.
You know, that had me, and I can't wait for season 2. But yeah, no, like I said, I'm always interested. Oh, the other thing, have you watched Bosch on Amazon Prime?
I don't have Amazon Prime. No.
Oh, it's basically just a Hollywood homicide detective, and it's just one of my most favorite series ever. It's phenomenal. Absolutely
Oh.
loved it.
Huh.
I'm not
yeah,
big
just
into
wanted- just
shows.
Yeah, no, I can imagine it's like me watching plumbing programs. You know, you live it every day. You really don't want to come home and start putting it on the telly. But
I take it you're not a big fan of the Super Mario Brothers then.
no, that's one of my first games I ever played, Jack. I used to love the old Nintendo. But no, like I say, when I asked the question, I kind of didn't even think along those lines. It can't be entertaining looking into a world that you know intimately. So yeah, there's a bit of a silly question.
Yeah, I don't know if Rich is the same and Jen, but I hate cop shows because they are so fake.
Yes.
I mean, they're really fake. I mean,
Mhm.
and I mean, if you would just take a ride along with the police officer and see what they really do on a daily basis, and then you go and watch those TV shows, you'd realize
You'll be
that,
bored.
yeah.
Mhm.
So I can't watch those shows at all.
Yeah.
Everybody always asks me about Orange is the New Black, and I'm like, are you kidding me? That stuff doesn't really happen in jails and prisons because I've worked both.
No.
Yeah, no, seriously.
I drive my wife nuts if we're watching a cop show or a military show. I just pick it
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I used to love them before I got into it, and then after I started doing it, I was like, I do not want to watch this crap anymore.
No.
That's garbage.
Well, Merrill, we're not going to hold you any longer, my brother. And honestly, you scared me early on when I first got into all this because you were so hesitant about coming on the show. First off, nobody bit you. You're okay.
Yeah.
You made it.
I'm gonna
And-
check after the show to make sure I don't have any.
Well, we'll get some mouth prints from Rich because he's usually the one that bites people when people get bit.
Slightly feral.
Although this week it might actually be my mouth print as I am the fangirl of all things Merrill David. And I need you to keep having fun. I need you to keep pumping these books out because my man, I love it. I absolutely freaking love it.
I appreciate it, man. And I'm just getting started. I'm just figuring this whole business out. I mean, it's only going to get better from here. I'm going to check out Ricky's stuff, and between Rich and Ricky and the other people in our group, I'm only going to get better. So, but thanks to those people around me, they're the ones who are teaching me this business. So, and actually, like, I hate to call it a business. I'm not doing it for business. I'm having fun. I'm sure these guys are too. So, but I appreciate your praise.
Well, like they say, find the thing you love, go do that, and you'll never work a day in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what you
Absolutely.
guys seem to be doing. And I'm jealous as hell of it and thankful that every Saturday I get to do this right here. But for Richard Ryan Rose, Jennifer Amato, filling in for Angel Ramon this week, my hero, as always, the one and only Ricky Fleet, Merrill David, you're the man. I'm literally getting off this show and diving right back into this book. It will be finished today, and I will probably be gushing about it all over the interwebs very shortly thereafter. And we will be getting you hung today, by the way.
Oh,
So just make sure you know that.
In a good
Fester,
way.
upon,
say.
yes, upon finishing said Fester. Oh, real quick,
Too
one
late.
complaint I have with books when you actually read them is this happens.
yeah.
And it makes me feel so bad. I'm like, I don't want to hurt the book. But
Yeah.
it has to happen. It's just kind of part of it. But
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, go get the Wicked Awake series. Go get Fester. Get anything that any of these authors that come on these shows put out, because trust me, we're not bringing hacks on here. I don't care if you've got one book.
Speak for yourself.
Hey. Unlike somebody's certain show, I can do what I want on my show. So, hey, Ricky.
Let's not go there, Jack. Let's not go there. Past is in the past.
So, this has
Hey,
been the
Jack.
Written Undead podcast for this particular Saturday. We will be back next week with another fantastic author. And Merrill, next new release, maybe have you back.
Yeah. Like I said, if there's no bite marks this go around, then I'll be back on.
Fantastic.
Be glad to
All
have
right,
you.
ladies and gentlemen, you have seen another fantastic episode of the Written Undead. We are out.
Laters.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.